Hey guys, it's Matt again for part 3 of our side-scroller tutorial. A little update before we begin this tutorial. I'm going to be making this tutorial series like a full series. We're going to be completely creating a complex side-scrolling shooter with all the basic elements you'd find in one. I can definitely offer a very good amount of knowledge on this topic because I've created a side-scrolling shooter myself called Cyberstrike, full, complete, like 70 levels, hundreds of enemies. It's pretty great. So I think I'll be able to offer a pretty good tutorial series for you guys. But back to this tutorial, and specifically, we are going to be adding a turret to our game. Now for this turret, we're going to need a series of sprites. So first of all, you're going to need a turret sprite. So I'm just going to call mine turret. I'll call it turret underscore still. And I'm going to load my sprite. And you can see it looks sort of like a little laser cannon. It's actually originally from Cyberstrike 2. But we're going to be using it for tutorials purposes today. So you want to make sure your origin is set to where you want your turret to rotate to attack the player. So in my case, it's going to be right in the center of this red diamond shaped thing. So it turns out my origin is going to be 2716. Now remember that number, because I'm going to create another sprite. I'm going to call this one turret underscore fire. So turret, nope. It's from Cyberstrike, so here we go. We have an animated turret, and I'm going to put in the same coordinates as last time. It was 2716, and there's my origin. You want to make sure that those two sprites are the same. Now, for our objects, we're going to have 3 new objects today. We're going to have turret. We're going to have turret underscore bullet. And, or did I lie? I think we only have 2 new objects. Yeah, we'll see if I forgot again. So we're going to start with our turret object, and we're going to say the sprite is turret underscore still. And in our step event, we're going to say code. And we want to say dis equals distance underscore to underscore object. And I'm going to say player. And then I'm going to say on the next line, oops, I'm going to say if dis is smaller than 128. Now this value here is the distance your player needs to be to the turret before it starts attacking. So I did some testing beforehand, and 128 seems to be about the right value. So inside here we want to do what we want to do to attack the player. So first I'm going to say image underscore angle equals point underscore direction, and then in the parentheses xy player dot x comma player dot y, and that will make our gun point towards the player. And then we want to say sprite underscore index equals turret underscore fire, and then I think we'll just leave it at this for now. And then down here we'll say else, and we'll say sprite underscore index equals turret underscore no spaces, turret underscore still. And also I did a little research beforehand, and a lot of the games that have turrets like the one we're trying to design, when the turret's not attacking the player, you've probably seen it, they spin around randomly. So we're going to recreate that. We're going to say image angle equals image underscore angle plus 2. So what's going to happen is when our turret's not attacking the player, it's going to start spinning counterclockwise 2 degrees per step. So that would be 60 degrees per second. So this is going to be our starting code. We're going to obviously come back to this because it's lacking a lot, but let's work on our bullet a little bit before we move on. So I'm going to, oh, that's the third sprite that I forgot about. So our third sprite is going to be turret underscore bullet, and I have a different bullet sprite for this than I had for the I didn't have this sprite prepared, so Just give me a second to rip it out of its original place and put it back into a little sprite canvas here. So we just have our little bullet sprite here. You don't have to use a different bullet than your player, but obviously my bullet for my player right now is a blue box, which I should probably fix. But for now, I'm just going to use a separate sprite, make sure it's completely centered, as always. And now I'm going to load that into our turret_bullet object. And now in the create event, we're going to do some more trigonometry. Hooray. So in our code, we want to say, or first, we need to define this object's host. Now, I went through a lot of games where I could only have one of each enemy on the screen at a time, at least the complicated enemies in more than one part, because when you tell GameMaker, if I just said like x equals turret.x, so this would be a really simple program if we just wanted to move it to the turret. But the problem is, what if we have two turrets? Then which turret does it go to? So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to say host equals instance underscore nearest, and then we're going to say x, y, and then we're going to say turret. So the nearest instance of turret is going to be defined as its host. Now this host is actually a value that's in the ID number of the nearest object, but we don't need to get into ID numbers because they can get a little confusing. So for now, just write down this line of code, and it will automatically assign all these values we're going to use relative to the turret, which you'll see in a second. So first we're going to say y equals the sign of host.image angle. So using this host variable and the period, we can say host.image angle, which pulls the local variable of image angle from the turret, and now we can use it in our program. Times pi divided by 180 converts back from radians. And then we want to multiply by our radius, a negative radius actually, since this is the sign. And we're going to, for this, I think a radius of around 16 would be good. So times negative 16, and then we want to add host.y. So if you don't understand what this is doing, or what any of these values are, go back and watch the last tutorial. And you can just skip forwards a little bit because I think it's in the middle area where I start going over the trigonometry. But for now, I'm hoping most of you watched that tutorial already. So we're just going to keep moving forward. We're going to say x equals the cosine of host dot image angle times pi divided by 180, and then we want to multiply that by positive 16, and we want to add host dot x. So this will define our x and y, and now we want to define our image angle. So we're going to say image underscore angle equals host dot image underscore angle. So wherever the turret parent is pointing, we are going to point that same. So now let's go into, we're just going to go outside here. We're going to use the move freely block, and we're going to say at direction image underscore angle, and I'm just going to use a speed of, I don't know, let's say a 10. You want it to be slower than your bullet because normally people don't like it when enemies actually have good attacks because they get frustrated. So that's it for our turret bullet programming. Oh, lastly, we want to say collision with floor. We are going to destroy self, so we don't have problems where I have an infinite amount of bullets on the screen that never destroy themselves. So now back under our turret, we need to actually create the bullet. So under our right here, under if dis is less than 128, so if we're attacking, I'm going to say if can underscore shoot equals 1, and then I'm going to put my parentheses again, and then inside there I'm going to say create underscore instance x, y, I spelled instance wrong, didn't I? Oh no, it's instance underscore create, my bad, and it's x, y, and then we want to create an instance of the bullet, so it would be turret underscore bullet. And that will create the bullet at the XY, and then the bullet's actual programming will take over from there, assigning the parent, sending itself out in the right direction from the right spot. So this is all we need to do in here, but what we need to do is we need to limit it so it doesn't shoot every single frame, which is why I'm using this can shoot variable. So in here we want to say set can shoot back to 0 so it doesn't shoot again right away. And then we want to set alarm 0 to, I'm just going to say 8, which will make it shoot every 8 frames. So now back out here we want to set at alarm 0, we want to set can underscore shoot back to 1. And then in the create event, we want to initialize the variable can shoot. So in the create event, we're going to set can shoot to 1 there also. So I think this should be good for the shooting element of our turret. So I think let's try running this program now. And I'm stupid because I forgot to put the actual turret in the room. By the way, I wanted to recreate this room a little bit so we can actually like move up these stairs. And then I'm going to put our turret at the top right about here. So you can see our turret's spinning randomly since we're not near it. But once I walk up towards it, it points at me and starts shooting its bullets. Now you can see the radius isn't quite enough with our trigonometry because you can see that it's creating a little bit farther back, but we can fix that easily. We can go into our turret bullet code and we can just change this number to, let's say, 18 or 19. I'm going to do 19. So lastly, we want to make it so we can actually destroy the turret. So for that, I'm going to say, under the turret, I'm going to say collision with pistol underscore bullet, and for this I'm going to destroy the instance. For this tutorial, I know you guys probably want to do something where it takes more than one shot to kill, but for the sake of this tutorial where it's just designing an enemy turret, I'm not going to go into health. That will be another day. But I do have the next 5 or so tutorials lined up, so you guys should be getting a good flood of tutorials this week. Once I have the time to record them. So let's just try this game here one more time, make sure it works completely right. And you can see there the bullets created perfectly. They fly out of the gun right towards your character, and you can shoot your squares back and blow it up. Ha ha ha. So just a little sneak preview into the future before I end this. The next tutorial is going to be on particle or just GameMaker effects, the ones built in. It can really bring your game to the next level and make it look a lot more professional. And then let's see, then the next tutorial after that will be adding health to both the players and the enemies. So those are the next 2 tutorials that you guys will be seeing. So I guess like, comment, favorite, subscribe. I think that's all the things that you have to do. And have some fun with GameMaker, guys.